If you're interested in making sake, you've came to the right place. Okay, now I want you to see this. I've had this in here for about 18 hours, and I've turned it once. I'm getting ready to turn it again, but if you look closely, and it may not be easy to discern, but you can see the whiteness around here on all these kernels of rice, and that's those spores that are growing. So we've got about another 12 hours to go until we consider this to be komi koji. You got to see this. Okay, now this is our update. It's been a little over 30 hours, and I've grown some koji komi. I want to show you this. Let me pull this out real quick. Now this remained in that oven at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can see that. Oh gosh, look at this. The rice looks like it's got a white dust, or looks like someone's just taken flour and sprinkled it all over the place. But that's what komi koji looks like. And to show you even better, I pulled out this is, oh, by the way, this now becomes the lab because I got the microscope out, and I've got a camera attached to this microscope, and I'm going to get you a close-up here of this. Well, this is a close-up, and you're able to see all of these sprouts, and this is the koji kin that has grown on that rice kernel. So now I've got all this fuzz all over the place, and that's what's responsible for converting the starches to fermentable sugars. Now, just as an example, let me show you this. I've got a piece of rice. Look at that one's broken. I've got a piece of rice sitting next to it, and you'll notice just how smooth that is. It's just no texture to it whatsoever. And then we go back to this one, and you'll see how it is. All that stuff has grown all over it. Amazing. So I've got thousands of these things in that 400 grams of komi koji. Yeah, now back to what we're going to do for the rest of the day, and that is to get everything prepared. Now remember, we went through the process of steaming there it is, the 400 grams of rice, created our komi koji, and what I had left was, this was a 2 kilogram, 4.4 pounds of rice. And if I take the 400 grams out of here, what that leaves me with is 1,600 grams. And I only needed 1,500 grams, so pulled a handful out, measured all. I've got 1,500 grams now, so that empties this bag. I've got 1,500 grams of rice sitting in this pot. And what are we doing? Yep, we're soaking for an hour and a half. Then we shall transfer into, there we are, I can't get it over there, the rice cooker, and we're going to steam that, cool it down, and go to the next step. Isn't it just simply amazing? This is, not only is it not difficult, it's tedious, but it's also fun. So let's keep making this sake. Here I am, and we're at the next step. What I've done is I've taken my 1,500 grams, 1,500 grams of rice, and this is only half of it because the other half is already in the steamer. I'm saving you some time. I soaked that in water for an hour and a half, and then I allowed it to drain for about 20 minutes, just so all the water was out of it. So I've got half of it in here now. It's steaming. When that's complete, I'll just, I'll take that out and put that in so that we'll have enough rice. So I'll have all of that ready. Now, here's the challenge that I ran into, because you remember on the first video when I introduced you and showed you this, what I was going to use is my sake fermenter. I still love this little thing. And I picked this up at my local Asian grocery. And they're probably available in most of them because there's multiple uses for them. What I like about them is you get your hand in there. Good thing to have. All right. I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, if I put 1,500 grams of rice, that's a lot of rice. And then I put 400 grams of my komikoji in there with 4 liters of water. I got a feeling that 5 liters is not going to be enough room. Yeah, I was right. So I went out and got the 10-liter one. I got this one last night. I had to go get it. But look at that. You can reach in and clean it. These are very universal. And plus, they've got the plastic lid where I can put an airlock in when I start to ferment. Now, something critical we need to talk about. Remember that the major difference besides the constituent that'll be in here, which is rice, the other difference in fermentation here and all other fermentations that you may be accustomed to is that 2 things are happening at the same time. We're going to have this rice, this komikoji, converting itself because we've grown those spores, Aspergillus orzae. I don't want to say that too many times. So it's going to be converting itself, plus it's going to be converting the other rice that we've steamed and we're going to add in here. Okay? That will be happening while it is fermenting. So we have conversion and fermentation happening at the same time, which is really, really unique, and it's something that's very specific to sake itself. Now, I want to keep this in mind, though. Now, what's that really tell us? And if you think about it, and I haven't discussed it yet or described it, is how do we measure gravity? Well, you really can't. You're kind of at the mercy of the results. Because if you drop the hydrometer in there, you haven't converted, because the conversion takes place during the fermentation. And if you've got that conversion happening and the yeast in there, you're not going to get a reading that is reliable at all. So what we wind up with is an end product that we have to just about guess. Now, there is another way to do that. Now I've got one in here. Here we go. Oh, that rice is done. I've got a vinometer. And what this does is it measures the viscosity of the liquid as you pour it through, and it does a really good job of getting you within about 1%. So you can test any wines. These are relatively cheap, but so I got this one. Cost me $6. I'll show you how to use that when time comes. So I've got this. I'm just about ready to go. I've got to switch out my rice here, switch out my rice over there. And of course, just about any yeast will do the job. Just about. I was considering using distiller's yeast. Then I thought about using a rum yeast. Then I thought about using a beer yeast. They recommended to you, if you use a lager yeast, that you're able to really boost your alcohol percentage by adding some more rice and more komikoji in batches, as you go through, through the process. We're not going to do that. We're just going to make a straight sake and give it a try. And so I'm going to use the K1V 1116. This is a wine yeast. And now the reason I'm going to use this, really, the bottom line is that's what I got. So, and I know it'll work. I don't have an EC 1118, which is normally your go-to wine yeast, but this one's a bit more specific, and it will do the job. So we're going to add that in there when the time comes. Now, last but not least, for this recipe, it's going to require this 400 grams of komikoji. And I said before that komikoji won't withstand temperature, and that's true, so don't let it get really hot. Again, you can save it by freezing it, or you can lay it open and allow it to dry and then store it in a cool, dry place. And it will come back every time you use it, it'll work, okay? So you can do one of the two, but don't let it get real hot. All right, Time to move on to switching the rice out, and I'm going to save you that terrible experience, and I'll take care of it myself. I've got my my rice out of here, and I've got my second batch in there, and you can see that. You see how sticky this is. Okay. It's good rice. And I tasted my komikoji, and just as planned, I put a couple in my mouth, and there's a little sweetness to it. So we're really on the road to being successful here. This will take about 2 weeks in order to finish. So what will happen is I'll have this video posted, once we get down to the fermentation process, we'll get that all done, and then in about 2 weeks we'll come back and we'll do an update. How's that? Stand by. We'll get to the fermentation process next. Well, as you can see here, I've got my komikoji inside my fermenter, and I've added the 4 liters of water. It's just tepid water, and stir that really good. Now, what I need is, I'm still waiting on this first batch of rice to cool just a little bit more. So all I do is just mix it up every couple of minutes until it cools down, and waiting on the next batch is just about ready. And I'll add that to this. So when you come back, I will have all of the rice in here, and then we'll add the yeast, and then we'll let it go. We are back, and as promised, we've got our 4 liters of water. Now this, I've got right now, it's 82 degrees. And I've got all of that rice in there, my komikoji. I've given it a really good stir, give it another stir again. All we want to do is really mix all this up and allow that to start converting itself and the other rice that we have in there. So I'm going to add my yeast, and this is just a simple sprinkle it on the top and let it go. Now what we're going to notice over a period of 2 weeks, we'll notice that this will turn into a whitish slurry. Things will start to separate. At the very end, when it's finished, we'll strain it, and then we'll give it a taste. But now I am a little bit miffed or concerned that, okay, I can't measure it. So this is for lack of better words, it's a really good crapshoot. So I'm not sure. I love the idea, and I really like the opportunity to convert and ferment at the same time. But I'd really like to be able to measure that, but I can't. There you go. So, but we do have, of course, the venometer at the very end. We'll give that a shot and see if we can't come up with a roundabout figure. Last but not least, we add our airlock, and we are going to let that set. Now, that brings us to a close. So remember, we had 400 grams of short grain rice. We had the koji kin seeds that we created, our komikoji, 400 grams of it. And then we took 1,500 grams of rice. We steamed that as well, and we've put that all together with 4 liters of water in a fermenter. We've added yeast, and now it's time for nature to do its thing. As always, we'll see you on the updates. So happy distilling or sake making.